100% off the strength, man.
Off the strength.
I did it all on the strength, all on the strength. Fuck talking, I'ma do this off the strength.
Run it back, can't relax, that's just facts off the strength.
It's off the strength. Can't get that off the strength.
I thought I knew everything inside of health and wellness.
You know that's not real.
I feel like body hasn't changed that much, so I didn't think that it was going to be new information that was going to keep coming out. Never have I ever heard of a coregasm, Kyle.
What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
Now, I've been studying exercise physiology for quite some time. This is a phenomenon that I did not see happening.
This young lady is doing an assisted pull-up with a band, a resistance band, and it appears as though she has orgasmed.
She did, involuntarily. From excessive workout.
I've seen that happen before.
I have never. Where was you at when you seen a coregasm happen?
We was on the leg press, and the young lady was like, listen, every time I leg press, you know what I'm saying, I release. I said, what?
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength. We're giving you an inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course with me, I got a gentleman of extraordinary lead.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So for you, take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yeah.
Now, Brother Jones, I don't know what type of gym you was at.
You know where I was
where
at.
people was leg pressing and orgasming at the same time. But
I was thinking outside the box.
That's a very, very festive type of space. Never have I ever seen that, but I'm glad that, you and your expertise have come across such a thing.
It wasn't a traditional. It was technically the hamstring curl. So when you lying down on your stomach, that little arch.
Listen, man, you work out the angles on your own time, my brother. You get into the geometry on another day, another time, on another show. I think we're picking up what you're putting down.
I was just letting you know, man. You asked the question. I told you.
Never have I ever, man.
So I'm going to tell you about my week. I'm going to slide out of that.
Tell me what else you seen, Kyle.
The week has been actually surprisingly overwhelming, if you will.
Okay.
I realized, man, I had to fight every day this week. And that was fight to get up, fight to stay up, fight to do some work, fight to catch up. Like every battle you can name came my way. On top of that, I realized that, man, I had so many other different fights that I had to overcome to even be here today. From recovering from injury, not being able to walk, all of those things. So it's like, man, that work ain't never going to stop. I did find some time to relax a little bit. I got up with one of my good homies from high school. He came to check me in the city, and we had a Friday night out in Manhattan. We went from, we bounced around from LES down to Soho for a little bit, and it was just like, man, this makes me feel like I was young again, just a little bit.
There we go. I ain't mad at you, man. I love the rebound on the Friday night, and you brought up that you was fighting earlier in the week. I'd be remiss if I did not say R.I.P. to the great George Foreman, my man.
Yes, sir.
So unfortunately, we lost this icon at 76 years old this week by the time people hear this show. And man, it was something that, you lose some of these larger than life figures sometimes. Does definitely make me pause and make me reflect a little bit. The former heavyweight champ took part in some of the most legendary fights that I honestly can remember in my lifetime. Like, I'm talking about to the point where if I say to you, Rumble in the Jungle, right? I comfortably have never seen that fight. But I've seen probably the 5 or 6 different movies that have been made about that fight.
Of course.
And I understand the folklore and I understand everything that's around that. So first and foremost, again, thank you to George Foreman for creating that kind of, legacy inside of life and everything else. But fam, I had to take a look back at that and I'm like, I can't comfortably tell you the name of a fight in the last 20 years. I can't think back to that and be like, oh, this was the get down and wherever, no. I can't think like that,
we
right?
We got Tank getting grease in his eye,
right?
Taking knees prematurely.
Talking about some box braids. We talking about the Rumble in the Jungle comparatively speaking, you know what I'm saying? So have we lost the ability to allow people to become that great? Is really something that I'm trying to unpack a little bit. I feel like somewhere in that GOAT conversation, we lose the importance of creating mythology inside of, our heroes, really. So part of being a great is like the story that goes behind that. Again, I never saw the fight, but I could tell you all the different stories that came into the Rumble in the Jungle. Muhammad Ali doing all of his best rhyming schemes early.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Right? Or all of that stuff leading up to that, man. And also some of the mystery that surrounds these people's lives. You never get to know all the other stuff that they was doing. Like, people was really pushing for us to release the MLK files. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be happy about some of the stuff that you see inside them MLK files, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of them freedom fighters was doing a little bit more than freedom fighting there. Let's just leave it at that.
That part.
For the sake of it, right? But I don't know if we allow people to become great today similarly. I don't know if we give them enough grace and enough, like, not specific time in the spotlight to develop that folklore. You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on that?
I got a lot of thoughts, man. First thing that comes to mind is definitely rest in peace to George Foreman. That man arguably did way more work outside of the ring with that damn grill, brother.
Yo, entrepreneur for sure.
But the grill as a whole, it changed the lives of the black community.
Everybody, bro.
In ways
you had to have a grill.
Man, but I'm getting off topic. Getting back to your question about just greatness. I do disagree a bit, and here's why. I feel like we don't stop greatness from happening as a people.
Yeah.
What ultimately happens is somebody achieves a level of just accomplishment, and we anticipate their downfall a lot sooner than it used to be because we know a lot about your lives. Like you said, like you got Instagram and all these other connective points. I feel like people accomplish stuff and then it can't be celebrated, one, because there's too many things happening. We're just overstimulated as a folk. But on top of that, after it happens, because life moves so quick and one thing goes wrong, that greatness falls a lot faster than it used to.
Everybody's looking for the fall off.
Yeah.
Similarly, where it's again like, fam, I promise you, Scottie Pippen don't hate Michael Jordan for no ass reason.
Oh, for sure.
But he's still
he wasn't getting paid. We saw that in the movie. And Future slept with his wife. And then his son
he ain't got no smoke for
his
Future.
wife afterwards.
He's mad at the Jordans collectively. Future ain't catching up to that same smoke.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if people knew how Mike was probably moving, would he be the same?
No.
Would you still think about Space Jam the same
if
way?
he had got a text message leak like how Tiger did,
all of that.
Where we at?
It's a different type of time, man. That just took me down like a crazy tangent. Getting back on subject, I wanted to talk about my week as in the context of powered by the people, bro. So long ago, the good brother Power Malu bestowed upon us the saying that only the people was going to save the people. And
yes,
man,
sir.
I'm going to tell you, I was reminded by many an example this week, bro. I think in the times of uncertainty amongst, like, you know, most of the civil institutions that we see, this is the time that you need community more than you ever have before. I'm talking about hyper local, right? I really do want to take that power to the people approach back into the next phase of whatever I do inside of health and wellness, mainly because, for one, I can trust the people that's around me the most. And if I want to actually see something change in real time, I got to focus on change happening immediately around me as opposed to change happening around the world. Because if I can't change what's on my block, what good am I going to be on the world scale? You know? So I really wanted to lock that in. So what that did for me this week was gave me the motivation to get up with some people that I haven't connected with in a little bit of time, man. So on that note, I made it a mission to support health and wellness in my community this week. So first and foremost, I want to shout out to good brother Al. That's Andre Lewis. So I know we got a bunch of Al's and a bunch of Andres, but Andre Lewis just launched his juice company, Kudamono. And fam, I'm going to be honest with you. These cold pressed juices, I had one of these yesterday from this brother. When I tell you, the passion fruit took me back to exactly where I need to be on the equator. It's like, as a man of the equator,
I didn't know where you was going with that. I was like, where we going with this juice and this passion fruit?
It was solid, man. It took me back to a space that I need to be at. So I got to shout that brother out for that specifically, man. I was sending people some workouts that was telling me that they had some little aches and pains, just not prompted. They were just kind of, my shoulder's been bothering me. Like, yo, here you go. Like, these are the stabilizing exercises that I don't even have to ask that I know you're not doing, but I know you need to be doing this. Yeah. Here's some of the knee stuff that I know you're not doing, but here's why I know you need to be doing that. You know, not for anything, again, just to be in support of the health of my immediate surroundings. And last but not least, you know, I've been trying to make myself more available by going to some of these classes and some of these gatherings that are happening because, one, I want to learn, but two, if need be, I want to be a resource in those kind of spaces, right? So my Ask the Professional question for you this week, Brother Jones, is going to be based off of that. Is there something that you would do to change something in your neighborhood to be more positively impacted using your talents and using your expertise as a health and wellness professional?
Definitely. Man, I've always flirted with the idea in my mind of what a community class would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a handball court over not too far from the crib that it's prime real estate, you know, and I've seen people do Tai Chi and that type of stuff over there, and I've always been a part of the community, man. We held that class in the park. That was a couple summers back, you know.
Yeah, you got to make sure that when you are making your community offerings, you got to make sure you check out that park at all times of the day.
That part.
I'll leave it at that.
Because sometimes things happen at night and they hang over the next morning, and you can see your night on the ground.
Yeah, there was different shifts happening in that park.
But yeah, man, that's something that I really wanted to do. In my heart of hearts, I really wanted to teach a class in the park in the past couple of summers. But, you know, life has been happening. So I feel like this summer might be it, man. This might be the offering where we out here getting to it.
Well, from your lips to the ears of the people that need to hear it the most, Kyle, let's make it happen, man.
Say less.
All right. And after we get out of that,
okay,
I want to get into a little bit of good. I want to get into a little bit of bad.
All right.
And I want to talk about some ugly things this week, Kyle. That's right. It's time for this week's episode of Rip from the Headlines. Now, first things up, I want to shout out to the Orchard Street Runners for their 1 mile all-out race that they did in Times Square.
Okay.
This was a race that was not sanctioned, Kyle. It started off at 1 a.m. And just based off of that, you know what type of runners is going to show up if you have a 1 a.m. track meet, essentially.
Those aren't hours I'm outside my house, brother.
1 a.m., middle of Times Square, no barriers, no barricades, no escort. It was specifically dedicated to just the love of competition. You got to just be fast. Go all out.
Did they run straight? Like a straight
in the
shot?
street was something that was definitely epic. It definitely reminded me a lot of the kind of cycling community scenes where it's just kind of like, nah, this is just something that we're going to do. So seeing a group come out there with some we own and we run the night type energy in New York, that was something that made me like, okay, springtime running is back in the lot, man.
How you like to get down, you know.
I don't like the way you said that. What's your thoughts on that?
Nah, man, I'm here for a good foot race. I can't race right now, but give me a couple months and I'll be back to challenge anybody to a good foot race.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
All right, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I want to see where you are and what type of run clubs you going to show up for. If you ain't meeting up at the 1 a.m. one.
I ain't running with the clubs no more, man. I'm be running by my damn self. You know?
Right.
I'm running with a crew, not a club.
All right, man. Loving the crew, Kyle. I ain't mad at you, bro. You know you got to do what you got to do.
That part.
Moving on into the next segment, man. You know what, Kyle? I see that the consumer packaged good landscape is evolving before our eyes, man.
Consumer packaged goods.
CPGs, for those out there who's playing along.
There you go. Like, we talking SKU numbers, Amazon packages. What we talking about?
You're talking about a little bit of all of these because you know what, Kyle? The modern day hip hop artist is evolving to be a modern day mogul that is going into different directions.
I don't like where none of this is going, but go ahead.
I mentioned this to you before specifically, but I've been talking about the alternative beverage market for quite some time.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, Lil Yachty dropped Yacht Water. Yep. A tequila-based canned beverage, right? And it's gotten some good responses. It's made locally in Atlanta, and it's going to have, you know, support from a brewing company out there that saw, hey, a lot of people are moving away from beer more and more, but they still want to have something that's quote-unquote better for them. And that was the impetus of where Yacht Water came in. Run the Jewels has now jumped into this game, Kyle.
You don't say.
Run the Jewels has a canned cocktail as well in the tequila line.
You watch how you talking to me, all right?
And Run the Jewels has now put out a canned Paloma, my brother. So going on the days where rappers have these big bottles of Alizé, Moet, Hennessy, all the rest of this, and now they're getting into this canned cocktail.
Okay.
Market, what's your thoughts on that side, bro?
I have had a canned cocktail before.
I've seen you.
Back in the day.
I've seen you double them.
It's a market that it's been creeping up for a little bit. I now think that it's a serious competitor to these larger companies. The landscape has changed drastically. People aren't drinking the way they used to. I was out on Friday night. I had a beer and a cocktail, bro. That was 2 drinks. Like, I used to go home with at least 7 or 9 in the tuck that I've been drinking that night. And it's like, yo, I had 2 beverages and I was straight. So I get it, man. I'm also here for a Paloma. My only question is, Run the Jewels music is pretty intense. Is it spicy?
Is it a spicy Paloma?
If it's not a spicy Paloma, they dropped the ball.
They might have dropped the ball on this one, but let me tell you, somebody who saw something that was happening in the consumer packaged goods market saw something and decided to pick that ball up and run in the opposite direction. Kyle, when I tell you that Edible Arrangements is the next company that I want to talk about, what comes to mind when you hear about Edible Arrangements, Kyle?
Man, that's the side piece, you know. Here you go, boo. You know, I still love you for Valentine's Day. That's a side piece gift right there. You don't get your main lady no Edible Arrangements. That's for funerals and side pieces exclusively.
So you are familiar with this company. You know, they was attached to 1-800-Flowers, and they send out different type of edible things.
Chocolate-covered Jones.
Well, what if I told you that they also are now starting to move into the cannabis market, bro?
No.
So now Edible Arrangements can not only send you infused candies, but they can also send you some flowers of a different sort, Kyle.
Where's my wallet?
This consumer packaged good is now moving into deep inside of the cannabis market, bro. This is an article from Forbes, how the company is pivoting, and now they trying to get you high at home with some of these side piece chocolates, bro. What's your thoughts on that?
See, now that makes sense, right? And now I'm around for that, because there's nothing I love more when I'm high than fresh fruit. So give me a nice, for the listeners out there, I enjoy a good kiwi. I like a good cantaloupe, a little honeydew as well. You know, save the watermelon for yourself. Hold that, but yeah. Send that this way.
I'm not even going to get into that with you. I'm going to move past your assortment that you just shot out there, you know. Shout out to them for doing theirs. And I got to stay with the cannabis content for a second, man, because I saw something that piqued my interest this week, Kyle, and it was from the Palanco brothers. They posted a story about Chronic Combat.
Okay.
Now, Chronic Combat, Kyle, was a jiu-jitsu match where people were consuming cannabis beforehand and then getting into different grappling matches after that. It looked like it was a pretty epic type of night, but Let me tell you what type of day I'm personally not going to show up for when we starting to blend the weed into it. You know, some of these physical activities is a little bit more intense than others. What's your thoughts about Chronic Combat?
See, this is what folks don't understand, right? Is when you get into something like jiu-jitsu specifically, it's a grip. Mm-hmm. Right, that you gotta have, like the grappling. You gotta be squeezing on folks and pulling their shirt and everything. I don't got time for that.
I don't want to do that while I'm high.
I don't want to do that at all, unless my life depends on it. That's the only time that you want to catch me in a no. That's not happening. Man's just got slammed on his back. See,
he got a nice dab after that.
Was somebody getting a tattoo there
was
too?
A lot of different stuff happening at this event.
That's a lot going on. See, we mixing too many things together. Like, some things just need to be left alone. Now, I say if you do like to get a little high and do an activity, I teach a class
yoga
on
class.
Saturdays. It's
non-contact sport.
Elevated yoga. It's non-contact. You can stay on your own mat. You ain't got to worry about nobody hemming you up or getting slammed on your neck.
Shout out to them for doing that. You know, first of all, jiu-jitsu is a sport where you usually see some of the most brilliant people stepping inside that ring at the same time. I could make the advocate position that, okay, maybe you get a deeper level connection to your mind and your body, and maybe that helps you solve the physical problems.
And then you get the chicken nugget on your ear.
Yeah, it's still not for me, but I shout them out for doing their thing, man. You know, and last thing, Kyle, was my ugly for this week. I saw an article from BBC News that TikTok had to remove a specific filter. Now, this filter, Kyle, was the chubby filter. So you could put this filter on to see what it would look like if you were an overweight individual.
What kind of week you been having, man? You want to talk about this?
It's been a week in news. This is health and wellness news, Kyle.
Which one is the before and which one's the after?
That's the question. Now you got to figure this out. No, in all honesty, people, rightfully so, may have been offended by.
Let me give you a play-by-play
your
for the
ability
listener
to make
out there. See, there's a young lady out there that's an influencer, if you will, and she's taken a filter. The things that change how you look. A lot of women have them on Instagram. Some dudes too. I don't want to, exclude anybody. But
we know
this
who you
one
are.
in particular, if you're going from small to big or big to small, both of them should be crimes, right? Because you don't need to be bigger than you are if you ain't, and you damn sure don't need to be smaller than you is if you ain't. And we're gonna leave it at that.
This is a victimless crime to me because I don't know who you're hurting because you know you don't look like that at the end of the day. But I can see how your account.
It's called false advertisement. This is what it's called.
I can see how your account would change based off of this. So that's why I'm going to step out of this being my ugly this week, Kyle.
I did see there was a guy that used AI to turn himself into like a woman and created like an OnlyFans.
See, now we get into a different level. See, it's the same thing. He's trying
like,
to get some
if
coin.
you see all of these people making money out of here and you can have technology that can turn you to do some things. Hey man, people doing some wild things out here, bro. I'm gonna leave that alone. I just want to throw that on top before I slide into my own rip from the headline segment.
Okay.
We're gonna find some good, we're gonna find some bad, and there's for sure some ugly that I saved that I'm looking forward to that conversation. Coming in hot, I want to shout out the brother J Tips. Now, J Tips is a sneaker designer. He's worked with Saucony, which I thought was Saucony back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Saucony is the proper pronunciation.
They used to call them the so cornies if you wasn't really like moving at the right time. I definitely had a pair when they was calling them that. I thought they was cool.
It was the young man's private school acceptable shoe. Like it didn't do too much, but like if you knew which ones to get, you could style a pair.
Yeah, nah, you could definitely make them work.
So now they've stepped into this lane where I'm thinking of the work that J Tips is doing is very similar to that of Kirby and Pierre Moss when he came in and gave, new silhouettes and just kind of a new energy.
Yeah.
So lately, he's just been on a serious run dropping kicks. And I just saw that he dropped his latest shoe that is entitled, I Love You, But I'm Busy. And when you go through and you just kind of look at the shoe itself, the commercials that they shot, like he's been with his kids a lot. All of his work is very colorful. You know what I mean? Like I got a chance to get up with this brother at, it was like a fitted hat kind of exhibit at the AM/PM gallery.
Okay.
Jumping back on track, we got up and I was able to really just appreciate the work that he put in because it was a real moment and a reflection of J Tips talking about a work-life balance, right? That's where the origin of the I love you, but I'm busy came from. Where it's like, I want to be able to put my all into this design, but then I also know that I have more to create and I'm constantly doing this because this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I don't have time to necessarily go to the park and play with y'all as much as I would like to, but know that y'all growing up way better than I did when I was y'all age, right? And it was one of those things that was really heartwarming. I'm going to briefly just give you a quick glimpse of the commercial here so you can see what it is that I'm actually speaking about. But yeah, man, this brother has the same storytelling that you would see in Nigel in the bricks coming out, right? Like I'm really loving this culture of we're bringing back the storytelling elements to sell these products.
Shout out to J Tips and shout out to people bringing, different energy to the sneaker game, man.
That part, man. So we're going to slide into a little bad, brother. The bad that I want to talk about first is the DoorDash and Klarna partnership.
I don't know what Klarna is.
Klarna is one of those pay later situations, right? So you know how recently it's been popular for
digital layaway.
For goods. The digital layaway is taking over. Now I'm here to tell you that this partnership with DoorDash has allowed this to happen for food.
Nah, you shouldn't be on a payment plan for food, fam.
How do you feel about the eat now, pay later method of business?
It's never going to work out. It's never going to be in your favor. Because by the time you finish that meal, whatever you thought it was worth, it ain't going to be worth what you feel like paying. It's just not. And, we are in a fucked up place in society, bro. If you got to put food on layaway to get it right. Have you ever
had something on layaway?
Yes. This is like, what kind of question are you asking me?
Just take me through the story. Just entertain me for a bit, man. Tell me about the layaway story.
Correction. No, I've never had anything on layaway, but I've had stuff for me on layaway.
What kind of store was it?
It definitely was like a Cookies or one of them type of uniform stores where it's like, all right, we're going to come in here. We're going to take this measurement one time. We're going to
try all this stuff on.
Yeah. By the time you come back, you ain't gonna fit half of it. So, but this is what you're gonna be wearing for the spring. So just keep this in mind. And we're gonna start paying for it today. And then when it get warm outside, you're gonna put all this short shit on and go back outside. Bro. Let them make fun of you in your Sauconys.
The layaway was taking place for me in like Marshall's. Value City was like the stores that was heavy, like in B-more growing up. And fuck it not fitting no more. The shit wouldn't be in style no more.
That wasn't even an option for me.
I had some platinum FUBU. Remember when they had the Fat Albert characters?
Yeah.
That lasted for a short window. It
definitely was a hot week.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, we're not doing this no more. We don't respect that. It was one of those.
I got mad characters too. I thought I was going to be killing the game.
Man, I was not. So when I'm thinking about tying this all back in, we got off topic a little bit, but the DoorDash and Klarna, the eat now, pay later, it's a terrible setup.
I think that here's a way that you can save this, right? I would say for all of the people that are out there entertaining somebody for the evening. Now, if Klarna wanted to come up with an app where they would be like, yo, here's your backup. You went out, you thought she was going to get the little cute salad. Turns out, Shorty was hungry. She got the tomahawk. And now your pockets is stressed. Klarna to the rescue.
But
right?
DoorDash?
I'm saying in the clutch. You need something in the clutch to save you. Like, listen, let's not act like everybody's ready to go out.
But the interest rates on that is going to be a premium.
You still down bad.
That tomahawk going to be about 5 tomahawks by the time you finish.
This is a game time decision. Like, this is like you gotta seal the deal, so to speak.
You're not even playing with house money at that point.
Too many drinks in, too many apps in. You realize, hey, my bank ain't set up this way.
I'm going to eat now and pay later.
That's exactly what it is. So Klarna could come in as a good wingman in the right occasion if they needed to. That's the only way I can see it working.
I appreciate your optimism. I hope nobody does this. Now, sliding out of that, we got to get into the ugly story, bro. Now,
got them Klarna cheeks out there.
Speaking of cheeks, it's funny that you brought us here. Let's talk about a UTI spread.
No, sir. That is KR Jones.
Just listen to that. UTI spread in an establishment.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to name this establishment because I ain't messy like that, but just know that this took place in what we would call a social relaxation spa, if you will, right? How would you personally feel had you gone to such a space?
First of all, you're never getting that story off. Nobody's believing that's why you burning, fam. Nobody's believing. I don't even know if I fully believe that this is the story to land on. Like, you might have got jammed up and then you had to go home jammed up.
But multiple people that account for this on the website that say, hey, I was here in this space last week, and then you get 10 more people because it was overpacked in this same spot where
we setting that place on fire. I'm burning, so you burning. That's the only way it works.
I paid a premium price to visit this social spa that was overcrowded, and you telling me I'm leaving away with a venereal disease, if you will?
I'm not fully buying that it came from the pool, but I can understand.
Multiple accounts in multiple locations.
Let's act like multiple people don't also share multiple things across these locations. I gotta know who all was there.
It's nasty
That's
business.
the first part of it. Nah, man, that's disgusting. Like, imagine you finished a hard week's worth of work. You stressed out. You thinking you doing something to invest in your...
I'm going to go to this luxury spa.
Yeah, I'm going for my health and wellness,
It ain't cheap, but I need to take care of me.
I need a staycation.
Yeah.
I need to be over... Oh, God! It burns. And you ain't getting none off of that? That's crazy, bro. I don't want no parts of that.
That's ugly.
It definitely is. They need to be shut down all the way.
I don't know who needs to be involved. I'm just seeing that this was on the news.
They were not relaxing responsibly in this
the
space.
news, in the wellness space. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's why I don't be going outside like that, because folks, it's nasty.
I'm sticking to the sauna, because ain't nobody gonna be all up on you in the sauna. Yeah.
You know, I don't want nobody else's water at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody else is in it, I don't want it. Let it drain like we in the nail salon. I need my own water. You gotta let it burn. We're gonna slide out of that, Brother Tone, and I'm sending relief to anybody that was affected by that, because that sounds bad. But we're gonna go into a little raising the bar segment, because that's ugly, Tone.
Let's raise it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you're now in store to raise your bar. And Brother Tone.
Yes, sir.
Man, last week you came in, you were talking about the Bill Burr special.
Yes.
The Drop Dead. I went and looked at it a little bit. I got it. He's not as funny as he used to be to me back in the day, man.
Because he's calmed down.
he's still an angry comedian, but, you know, it wasn't really... I didn't love it as much as I thought I would have. I say all that to say, Hulu was cutting checks.
Yeah, they are.
Because Roy Wood Jr. also had a special.
Yeah.
And Roy Wood Jr. is one of my favorite comedians at the moment, just because I've loved his consistency and his trajectory in the work that he's done. I talked about him earlier in the year when we was talking about podcasting because he did that tandem bike in Central Park, which was nasty business that I'm never going to let him live down. Let me meet him in person. I'm going to tell him about himself. Secondarily, he was on this podcast with Spank Horton and Lou Will called The Underground Lounge. Spank Horton was one of Kevin Hart's homies. Lou Will, former NBA player, retired NBA player, if you will. And Roy Wood was talking about his grind to make it into comedy starting in 1998, only after he'd been on probation for being convicted of a federal crime, which was mail theft for stealing credit cards. So he's dropping this story in the beginning of this podcast, and Lou Will had a whole questions on a paper with notes. He was like, we're going to throw this out the window. I didn't know this is what we was getting into. Right. And in the midst of this podcast, Roy Williams was talking about a time when he was willing to risk everything for a chance to pursue the comedy career that he wanted, that he now has present day. So the story starts with, him just working through like the probation. He finally got himself back into school. He was in college. He was on the right path. But essentially, he was taking Greyhound buses to go to different shows in different cities so that he could get stage time. Now, Roy got a call to open up for Tommy Davidson. Now, for the listeners out there, Tommy Davidson back in, if we talking 98, he was up there, Eddie Murphy, like his star was rising. No, you wouldn't give him the Eddie Murphy kind of star?
Not Eddie Murphy.
But he was in movies, he was on TV.
Yeah, Tommy Davidson was Tommy Davidson. There's a sizable
He
jump.
wasn't Eddie Murphy, but you get what I'm saying. He was one of those people that you felt was on his way, if you will. So Roy gets this call, and the call happens to be the same time as his midterms, right? And he's like, I'm either going to go take this opportunity or fuck school. That's the only other option that I have. Like, I'm going to stay here or I'm going to do the thing that I really want to do. And as Roy is talking about this, before he really got into the story, he talked about this gym that he dropped. And the gym was, every now and then, the universe is going to ask you what you're willing to pay to advance your career, right? And he literally laid out this anecdote of like, man, I packed my bag for 2 weeks. I thought Tommy Davidson was going to see me. He was going to fly me to LA. I was going to be in the movies. He was going to see my set. I had it all mapped out. None of that happened. Tommy Davidson, in fact, didn't even see him perform. His assistant told him, he was like, hey, that kid did pretty good. He said, hey, man, I heard you did good. God bless you. That was it. And he put everything on the line to take this chance, right? He failed out of school, all the above. And it was one of those things where it really just kind of took me back a little bit, right? This is stuff that we've talked about on the podcast before of like the cost, right? The cost that you have to pay in order to be successful. And we've talked about it in many different ways, but I feel like what really landed for me more was the reminder that success is always going to have a cost, right? It's always going to be there regardless of how successful you are. There's going to be another level. There's going to be another shift, another commitment that's going to force you to rise to the occasion or stay where you at. Now, Brother Tom.
Yes, sir.
As a man that has put it on the line for many years, partner left for a little bit, for a man that has accomplished as you are, present day, man, take me through a time when you had to reinvest in yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a day that goes by where I don't have to do that. In the most recent of times, everything from having had a gym close, having had an app close, having had products come to the market, having had them not sell out, having had a chance to put together some type of event, have it go well, have it then not come back. There's no part that doesn't cost me something in my creative arc and in the ideas that are tied to it. Like, some part of what I would say is my artist side, seeing those things not go the way that I wanted them to, has to be sacrificed to the cost of moving forward. Has to be sacrificed to the idea behind, hey, how do you take this in real time, take these lessons and apply it to making whatever the next iteration is better. So I sit here today as somebody who is still looking forward to that break and that turnover inside of a lot of the things that maybe never had the value that I thought they should have had, but were always valuable. And yeah, I can't tell you that that's something that I won't possibly feel for my entire life. From the time put in, from the emotional cost to the weight that's put on the people in my surrounding universe. Like, that's always something that I'm aware of acutely. And yeah, I have learned the best way to process that and the best way for me to deal with that is to also understand that this is that important to me and probably just me. And in the way of what might have stopped progress at different points in time, nobody else ever feels or is as invested in the weight of that cost as I'm going to be. So I have to be happy with myself at the end of the day. And I rest in knowing that there's nothing that I have put out that I didn't try to do the best version of. So at every single chance that I have to remind myself of the cost. It was like, I actually tried to play this as best I could for what it was that I had. And in the wake of it, when everything is far enough away, you could see what you learned and you could see how that changed and adapted at least my approach to different things going forward. I could look at all the things it cost me, but I can also look at all the things that I gained from it. And I know my sword is sharper having gone through whatever trial and tribulation that has come about in life.
Briefly, just take me through, you talk about stuff that you've gained and the cost of it. What's something that's not tangible, but you've gained in this process? You know what I mean? Like, is it a skill?
There's a lot of different skills. I'm self-taught in everything that's not about health and wellness. That is truly singularly something that nobody gave me. It didn't come from a space where this was a structured lesson and anything else. So anything that sounds like it might be informed there is informed by fire. It's informed by, hey, I got to get to this piece of information. I got to figure this out. And there's no option to not figure it out. So there's countless of hard and soft skills that come across from there, from actual technical aptitude to do something all the way through to understanding the why behind something. That whole process is in an effect like the benefit that I got from there. I also had to get an appreciation for what patience really needs to mean in real time. I also had to get an appreciation of what forgiveness needs to mean in real time. And throughout all of that, I still have to have the highest appreciation for the unveiling of the truth of who I am. Because there's going to be a lot of things that, for every reason why I could tell you, hey, this didn't work and this didn't go the way that I thought it should, I still am the type of person that would move forward. That's undeniable. That's not something that's a mystery to me. So the unveiling of that kind of stuff is definitely beneficial in whatever situation I go forward in.
Man, I would hope people is out here picking up these goddamn gems, right? But I think really just to add to realizing the cost, realizing the things that you gain, the hard, the soft skills, are all going to add into that skill set that we talked about, that you never know when you're going to need it. You never know when you're going to learn that, the job that I had as a delivery man taught me how this neighborhood works, taught me how the money moves around here. So now I can sell to this neighborhood specifically, right? Or whatever the case may be. Like, you just never know when those skills are going to be transferable. And realizing that the shit that I want out of life ain't never going to be on sale neither, right? That's the other reality. So seeing Roy Wood just recap that brief gym was one of those things that, that advice from the cool uncle, from the cool aunt, it just hit a little different when you see it.
Yeah.
Especially coming from somebody who's so accomplished. Sliding out of that, Brother Tone, we can only relax responsibly.
Okay, let me hear about how you were relaxing responsibly this week, my man.
I got a chance to pull up to a concert. Now, I went to a concert on a school night, Tone. This was on a Monday night. This is what I realized. One, I need to ask more questions. I didn't ask enough questions because I was presented this opportunity like, hey, you want to go to this concert? Bet, let's do it. Once I'm there, I didn't realize, was there going to be food involved? Is it standing room only? And what kind of people are going to be there?
You realize your age in real time. It's like, because you're not at that age where you could just go out and just let life happen. You are the curmudgeon-y person.
Oh, I went out.
Who's like, I want the seat. I want to know what the food is going to be. I want to know.
All the above.
Like, who's on stage? Where they going? Like, you are now the age where you used to be like, oh, man, they complain about everything. It's like, no, you want comfort. Your comforts are not going to be assured, and you popping out to a concert on a Monday.
They were not. I assure you. I was.
You hanging out with a younger crowd, bro.
I actually wasn't. I was hanging out with an older crowd, which is even worse, right? So it was even worse because it was a tight ass venue. So I went to a Sun Ra concert.
Okay, that's what's up.
Sun Ra, for the folks that don't know, like they've been around since like the 70s. Fam, the lead musician or one of the leads is actually 100 years old.
Yeah.
Homie turns 101 in May.
That's acid jazz right there.
That's
man.
what I'm saying, right? So the crowd there was definitely people in the crowd with full white hair, right? Like, but then there was also older people, like older than me, but with their kids that are like in college. Like, it was such a wild space. One, I realized I ain't got the nuts to butts to be standing in the room no more. Like, that's just not for me, especially when you start to see folks with different masks and things like that. I know it sounds like I'm not relaxing. I promise I'm going to get there. Two, once you realize I need food and a seat, those are two different feelings that like coincide that turn you angry almost instantaneously. It's like, I'm hungry and I need to sit down.
So you went full Joe Pesci.
Man! So I went and got a burger, and I went and got a beer, and I went and got a seat. I did not stay for the full concert. I had to, come in and out for a little bit. But it was one of those things where you see somebody that is so in tune with their art that, like, that's just what you want to do. That you're going to do it. This room was packed. Like, I don't want to give the impression that it wasn't packed. It's like, you've been doing this for years, and this is what you do. So I appreciated the artistry in that regard of like, fam, you 101. You could be anywhere in the world, but you on the stage playing this instrument that is making your heart happy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for that. So that was what allowed me to relax. Like, man, I got 70 more years to go hard in this wellness thing. You know what I'm saying?
Let me let you know where you're not going to see me at 101 if I ever make it, bro.
You're not going to be...
Yeah, I ain't going to be on the mic
doing
no
the
more,
world's
bro.
greatest?
I'm not going to be...
You're not
I might still be in the gym.
You're not partying no more?
I'm not going to be nowhere near...
Not be getting your, what's the centennial thoughts off?
Yeah, nah. You're going to have to come see me real time.
Back in 88.
You're going to have to
That's
see me.
That's 19 for you young bucks.
I can't even work out at the park no more because the park has evolved. You know what I'm saying? I'm working.
So tell me how you was
spaces.
relaxing, brother, because it sounds like you're a little tense right now, man.
You know what? I got a chance to relax responsibly this week, Kyle, by watching my friend's dog and taking her on walks. Now, I know I've talked about this dog on the show before, but seriously, it's some of the most pure energy and some of the most frustrating energy happening at the same time. For one, again, the amount of people that I have to talk to, having an overly friendly dog is something that is completely like chart adjusting for me.
Dogs inherently make you social.
Yeah.
But when the dog that you're walking is an actual celebrity, that's a whole nother level of like you secondary citizen for sure.
Yeah. So I was that was the frustrating part. The relaxing part came about when like, all right, in the moments where you just like take a stroll through the park and all the rest of that, like, yo, this dog don't really care about none of this other stressful stuff that's happening. This is like, yo, I want to play. I want to go out. I want to be in the fresh air. It's like, all right. These are the parts that I could feel like we are both in tune with. It's like I'm communicating with this thing right now as you're acting calm. It's like we on the same page. And I did find a heightened level of relaxation in that space, man. Nice. Then we messed that up on the way back home. It's like with a couple of too long of hellos, but it was all good at the end of the day, man. That's how I was relaxing.
Nice, man. I love that for you, brother.
Pure energy, bro. Always love being down there, man.
Well, it sounds like you're hopeful for something, Tony. Or
Not
you got
quite.
a mind over matter.
I want to tap into this mind over matter this week, man, and I want to go back to the great George Foreman. He had a quote that I came across in looking up some of the stuff about him and his career. And Kyle, he dropped this one off, quoting him, "It's great to reminisce about good memories of my past. It was enjoyable when it was today, so learning to enjoy today has two benefits. It gives me happiness right now, and it becomes a good memory later on." That approach is extremely simple, but extremely important at the same time for me. Facing any kind of stresses and facing any kind of things that keep you down, or you go through the ebbs and flows, normal, emotional kind of stuff. You get depressed some days, you have some lighter days. if you could make an attempt to make a good memory happen every day, you'll have more to look back and reminisce about your past being more enjoyable. Like, that is so profound. That's so powerful. It could help you shape the way you make yourself navigate through your own life. Now, I am hopeful that we continue to celebrate our greats and lessons that they taught us. And I still want to see the next generations of greats get the same opportunity to become their full-fledged selves, Kyle. That's what I'm hopeful for this week. What are you hopeful for, my brother?
Sheesh. That was a lot. Just tackling in quick on the George Foreman. Did you ever see the documentary? They made one pretty recently.
When We Were Kings, or which one? Because there's a few that's out there.
The guy that played him was homie from Atlanta.
Documentary?
It wasn't. All right, maybe it wasn't a documentary.
The George Foreman movie. I was like, we got to be careful with how we use what words we use when.
I was reading this article on IG.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
All right, it was a movie.
Yes.
It's on Netflix. All right, don't do that. All right, it's a film. It's on Netflix.
It's called George.
It's called
Foreman.
George.
Yeah.
It's about the story of the man's life.
Okay.
Does that make it a documentary? I don't know.
No, it does not. Exclusively, that's not the same thing.
They told the story of the man's life, and from that viewing, I realized how much of a fighter George Foreman actually was. To get it to the level that he did, to go broke, and then to be like, yo, I got to get back in the ring because this is the only thing I know how to do.
To get back in the ring and win late in life.
That's what I'm saying.
That's massive, bro.
So the respect level for me will always be there for George Foreman, which leaves me hopeful for folks to make sure that you are prepared to pay that cost when the universe pull your card.
Yeah, damn sure gotta be, man. Damn sure gotta be. I got some questions for, some of his choices that he made. We shouted out the Foreman Grill. Didn't he have, like, a few daughters named George, too?
I know he had multiple children, and a lot of those children... A lot of them
were named George.
A lot of them were named after him.
Some of whom were
some numbers.
Women. In that cluster. And that'll be one of those questionable...
I like a nice young lady with a man name. You know what I'm saying?
George, though?
It's Georgie.
You gonna land on that one?
Georgia?
Different from George.
It's not that bad. It's short.
Yeah, version, I don't know if I'm gonna go with that one. I want to remember him for his greatness.
I knew a nice Troy in my day. You know what I'm saying?
That's ambiguous enough. I feel like that could live in both directions.
You got it.
But shout out to you liking ladies with boy names. I think that's what.
I knew some Corys in my life.
Hey, listen, man.
You know women Corys. For the record, that was
that is KR Jones.
Yeah.
I just
natural born. Corys. Let's just put that out there.
Today is the day and time, Kyle, where you can get all that off, man. Nobody's ever going to judge you for loving who you need to love, my brother. I could testify to that. And
let's
that alone.
Take it easy. You know what I'm saying? Let's wrap this up. You know what I mean? Because you're talking wild right now.
I don't know what you're talking about, man, but I am talking on these great mics over here at Newsstand Studios. Now, Kyle, if the good people out there who are listening and hearing this abundance of love that you want to share with the world want to come down and experience that in real life, where could they go?
They could visit a trainer called Tony's Instagram, and that's where he will be open for a nice little ear seating if you like. From there, we could go on down to Rockefeller Center where you can see us recording live and direct at the Block of the Rock. If you can't make it in, you could always visit online at Newsstand Studios or at Rockefeller Center on Instagram or X at Rock Center NYC. You could always visit us at offthestrength.com. We're still waiting on some photos that y'all took. So send those to info@offthestrength.com.
Week after week, we got to create a website of, like, chronologically how many lost Off the Strength photos are out there. But we gonna get it together, man. Put us on the back of a muscle milk or some shit like that. We make it work, bro.
We've been missing.
Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace. Good.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.